Let me be honest about something right now. I must confess that I'm not really up to date on movies nowadays. It just seems that creativity has completely gone out of the window. Everything's pretty much recycled, already done, been there, done that kind of thing. So I'm not too eager about trying to look at new releases. But when I start to hear people say things like, "You better not go see that movie," I'm like, I wonder what they mean by that. Then I start to see all of the reviews coming up all on YouTube. Don't go see Sinners, it's demonic. And like I said, I confess, I'd never even heard of the movie until I started seeing the reviews from the religious community on YouTube. Then the little inkling came inside of me to dig down a little bit deeper and see what everyone's talking about. So I went to go see the movie myself. And I must say, Sinners is not just another vampire flick. It's a blood-soaked, there's blood, sweat-drenched, absolutely, spiritual background wrapped in Southern blues and buried trauma. This is a film that pretends to be about the undead, but it's really about the never healed. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the deeper story hiding under the floorboards of that juke joint. So let's break this down for what it really is. A historical horror that bites harder than people realize. Set in 1932, Clarksdale, Mississippi, Sinners drops us into the heart of a Jim Crow era South that's both oppressive and intoxicating. But this isn't just some backdrop, it's the bloodline of the film. You've got twin brothers, Smoke and Stack, who come back from World War I thinking they earn a slice of peace, only to return to a world that still sees them as less than human. This is not a fantasy, it's history. The sharecropping economy in the South was legalized theft. You farmed white-owned land, paid rent with your labor, and somehow always owed more than you earned. It was slavery in a new outfit. The film captures this desperation perfectly. The weight of it in every character's body language, in every note of the music they play, and in every ghost they try to dance away in that juke joint. That joint isn't just a club, it's a fortress, a sanctuary, a black-owned business in an America that tried to make black ownership impossible. And the fact that Smoke and Stack built it, wow, that's rebellion. That's survival. That's resistance in rhythm. Now, let's talk culture, because Sinners drips with it. The juke joint isn't just the stage for the story, it's the altar. Everything about it breathes. The wood creaks with ancestors. The music pulls the veil thin. And the characters aren't just dancing, they're conjuring. Wunmi Mosaku's character, Annie, isn't just a performer or a priestess. She's a walking legacy of Hoodoo, Black Southern spiritual practice rooted in survival, in healing, in knowing the unseen. The movie doesn't caricature her, it honors her. She doesn't fight with stakes. She fights with oil, song, and discernment. And then there's Sammie. That guitar of his, that's a weapon. It slices through silence. It calls the ancestors. And it even threatens the undead. When he plays, he's not just entertaining. He's testifying. Every blues riff in Sinners is a cry against oppression. Every harmony is haunted. You want to know what the vampires are? They're colonizers in formal wear. Remick and his clan aren't just villains. They're metaphors for generational exploitation. These vampires don't just thirst for blood. They thirst for dominion, for access, for cultural infiltration. That's why their rules matter. That's why they can't come in unless invited. They're not chaotic monsters. They're systemized evil. They seduce, assimilate, and devour from within. Sound familiar? Remick, the Irish vampire leader, complicates this dynamic. His heritage ties into a whole other layer. He's a descendant of an oppressed group that later joined systems of power. His folk music and restraint give him depth, but don't get it twisted. He still feeds. His civility doesn't cancel out the conquest. It's just dressed in a bow tie. Now, the Irish context is subtle, but it's sharp. Remick isn't just Irish for decoration. There's a reason we hear Irish folk tunes drifting through the chaos. Irish immigrants were once marginalized in America. No Irish need apply signs were real. But as they assimilated into whiteness, many adopted the same structures they once suffered under. Sinners uses that to perfection. Remick represents that dual history, the memory of being the outsider and the temptation of power once you're let inside. He recognizes the pain of the black community, but still participates in the feeding. He's not a monster by accident. He's a monster by choice. Here's a part no one's talking about, and it's time they do. The Asian characters Grace and Bo are essential to the story's climax, but they're treated like set pieces in most reviews. That's a mistake. These characters represent another layer of American history that gets buried. Chinese laborers were in the South post-Civil War. Many opened shops, restaurants, or laundromats. They existed in a strange, liminal space, marginalized by white society, but also distanced from black communities. In Sinners, Grace and Bo aren't just background, they hold keys. It's Grace who eventually invites the vampires into the juke joint. Think about that. She's the one who opens the door. She's the fracture in the protective wall. And it's not random. It speaks to the fragile, complicated alliances among oppressed communities. Survival can make people betray, and silence is a kind of violence. So when people call Sinners just another horror movie, I know they weren't watching it. They saw the blood but missed the history. They saw the fangs but ignored the system. This is just another monster flick, they say, but it's not just another monster flick. It's a mirror. It's asking us what we're inviting into our homes, our bodies, our culture, and it's daring us to build spaces that evil can't enter unless we let it in. So no, I'm not letting this movie go unnoticed. I'm not brushing past the depth for some jump scares. Sinners is speaking, and I'm listening. In conclusion, a lot of people go around warning others not to watch certain things, not to listen to certain music, or not to engage with certain content, and they think they're helping. They think they're protecting someone by making the decision for them ahead of time, and most of the time it's based purely on what's obvious to the eye. They see vampires, they see blood, they see seduction, so their conclusion is quick. This is demonic. Stay away. But what they're missing is this. Yes, there are things that are demonically obvious, But there are also things just as demonic that are subtle. And it's those subtle things, the ones we overlook, that create the most access points in our lives. We forget that things like gossip, backbiting, treating people harshly, lying, walking around with a proud look, or being quick to do evil, those things don't look like horror scenes, but they're wide open doors. These are the behaviors we label as normal human nature, but in reality, they invite the enemy in just the same. The truth is, the devil doesn't kick doors in. He walks right through the ones we leave cracked. And a lot of the times, those doors are opened not through what we watch, but through the unrepented things we do or harbor, even unknowingly. So yes, be discerning about what you watch and what you expose yourself to, but also be just as discerning about what you excuse in your daily behavior. Because sometimes the real spiritual danger isn't on a screen. It's in the silence of your own unchecked habits. Gossiping about your husband, speaking curses over your children, doing something petty or vengeful just because you feel justified. These are the unseen access points. So, before you rush to call a horror film demonic, ask yourself, what doors have I left open? And would I even recognize the enemy if he walked right through them?